Welcome to Chiefs C4 Podcast, where cops, cars, and current events are the preferred topics of discussion. Kyle McPhee, aka The Chief, is a retired 31-year veteran detective of the Michigan State Police, an avid hot rod builder, an automotive connoisseur, a Native American, and the proud father of two sons, both members of the U.S. Army Michigan National Guard. This podcast is not intended for the weak at heart. Alpha males are always welcome, and honest opinions are always given. Now buckle your seatbelt. You are now entering the no snowflake zone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Chiefs C4 Podcast. It's been a minute. We're back here. It's been a few months since we've put back any episodes on YouTube, but I just wanted to check in with everybody today and give you an update of what's been going on here at the Chiefs C4 compound. And we're down in the man cave today recording, and it's on or about March 21st, 2021. And if this is the first time you've checked us out here on YouTube, I just wanted to let you know, working on getting this podcast to Spreaker. Listen to it, the audio version on Spreaker. So that's in the works. So look for that. And if you haven't ever listened to one of our episodes, I encourage you to check out the channel on YouTube, Chiefs C4 Podcast, where you'll find all of our past episodes. I think this is episode 10. So you'll find 9 other videos that'll be there on YouTube, addressing various topics, interviewing individuals that I find interesting. And I hope to continue that process going forward. I got some things in the works lined up for some future podcasts. So what you're going to find here in the Chiefs C4 Podcast is my opinion on just about any subject that comes up. And I'm a little bit old school, and if I give my opinion and it hurts your feelings and you're offended, this might not be the podcast for you. As you heard in the open, this is a no snowflake zone. I'm over that kind of thing. No one's ever died of being offended. So if that is your virtue signaling self, then this isn't the place for you. I just kind of throw it out there how it is, and that's what we do here. Whether it's political, religion, anything that seems controversial, I have no problem with the opposite side of things. Everybody knows I'm a big conservative. Yes, I was a Trump voter. I liked Donald Trump as president. I thought he did great for the United States economy. Yeah, he had his faults, but I think we all knew what those were going into the election when he won the election, that he was a reality TV star, millionaire businessman that was running for president, and that's what he ended up being. But he did some great things for the country. But if he offended you, then so be it. If you want to be on the opposite side of the aisle, I'm fine with that. I'm open for discussions on anything like that. But that's not, I'm not going to ban people because they're Democrats to come on my show or have a different opinion on religiously or whatever. So that's not what we're about here. We just kind of throw things out, talk about them, and go from there. So hopefully you stick around, subscribe to the channel. Would like to build our base a little bit and get it out there. So let's talk about a couple things real quick too. What I've been up to. I am about 6 months into my retirement. So I retired about 6 months ago. Most of you know by now that I spent 31 years in the law enforcement business. And, we talk about my career a little bit on past shows and stuff, and I don't get into it too deep, but we'll hit on it occasionally. I did 31 years with the Michigan State Police, and it was 31 memorable years that put food on my table, and I feel like I worked my ass off as hard as you could go for 31 years, and I lived to tell about it. And that wasn't the case for a lot of people in the business. A lot of you know that my best friend and patrol partner when we were young troopers, Trooper Brian Agelski, lost his life in the line of duty in July 11th of 1994. And I speak about his influence in my life a lot. There's videos out there that address that, and some of our other YouTube channels, and we'll talk about that as well. Unfortunately, I got to stay with the same wonderful woman my entire career. My wife, Teddy, and I have been together for, 27 years now. And so she rode that roller coaster with me for 27 out of the 31 years. And man, I don't know how I could have did it without her. And she was on the previous episode when we were camping, and so she'll make an appearance again on the show here shortly. But yeah, man, it's 6 months into the retirement. The hardest thing about retiring after doing a job that long, some of you can relate to this, is I'm a very routine person, and I get into a routine, and I did that for most of my career. You can see the great Thunder Chief back here, my golden retriever. His name is Thunder Chief. He'll spend some time in the man cave here with me as well. But I'm a very routine person. And after doing the same routine for 31 years, for the most part, now you got to wake up and do something different. And I find that challenging. I'm not worried about being bored. I'm not going to run out and get a job at Home Depot to keep myself. I got enough things going. I still teach at 10 different colleges and universities around the state of Michigan. I'm an instructor, an adjunct instructor at several universities. Still teaching law enforcement investigations, various forms of, mostly auto theft investigations was my specialty. So I still teach, and I teach almost 40 classes a year to patrol officers and police academy recruits, etc. So I stay busy doing that. And one thing I've been doing in retirement is I found out how much stuff I have that has kind of just been packed away for years. And I got a little OCD in me. My wife has a little OCD in her, and so between the two of us, we don't like clutter. But you can see I like to clutter stuff around me here, but in the man cave here. But for the most part, there's a lot of stuff that we just don't need. It's been laying around, or it's in these bins in our sheds and in the garage or whatever. And so I've got time to go through stuff and get rid of a lot of stuff, and either taking it to Goodwill, or I've really found it interesting selling stuff, not because I need the money for the most part, but just to move stuff or give stuff to somebody that needs it. I put a lot of stuff out. I live on a real busy road in County Road here in mid-Michigan, and I'm telling you, I've stuck out anything in the front of the house by the road with a free sign on it. It doesn't matter what it is. Within a day, it's gone. I think the last thing I put out there was last fall. We bought a new grill, a new gas grill for the deck. And our old gas grill was just a pile of crap. It was just all rusty tub of metal, and everything was burned out of it. It really would take, like a couple $100 to rejuvenate the thing. So I didn't want to deal with it. I stuck it out on the roadside with a free sign on it. The thing was still light. It was just all rusty and corroded and everything. And man, within a day, some metal scrapper came by and grabbed it, threw it in his trailer, and away he went. So God bless him for getting it out of my hair. I've been selling stuff like on social media marketplace, Facebook marketplace, if you will. And I've sold everything I've ever put on there. And I always put a low price on it so someone will buy it. I don't try to gouge anybody with stuff. But, just simple stuff. Yesterday, for instance, I had a 27-year-old, maybe 25-year-old lawnmower. It was just an old Craftsman push lawnmower. Kind of cobbled it together. And I don't use push mowers much. I mostly use my riders. So just for trim work. I went and bought one of these new electric battery-powered push lawnmowers. And it works great for what I need it for. So I had this old one. Burns oil, doesn't burn oil, had an oil leak in the fill tube, and the kill switch, I had to get rid of the kill switch grip and had to wire it directly to the spark plug. So, it ran, really good. The old Craftsman motor still ran, but it needed front end alignment. The front tires were all bent up on it. And it was just sick of it sitting in the backyard. It sat out all winter long. I pulled that thing out the other day, cleaned it up a little bit, primed the choke on the thing. It started right up. It started up, put some oil in it that had leaked out of it, and it ran fine. It ran. It just didn't look good. And so I put it on Facebook for like $25. And somebody local hit me up, came and looked at it, showed them all the faults of it, showed them that it ran. I think it was kind of a project that maybe wanted it for parts or whatever, but guy said, "Well, you take 20." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care." Gave me $20, took the mower, it's out of my way. So anything I've ever put out there has sold for most part. So we build hot rods and stuff in customized cars here. And we have my kids used to run a detail shop, and I did it when I was young. So we've come up with a little shop named the McPhee Motor Cars Hot Rod Shop. And so once in a while, we'll still detail cars of old customers that have hot rods and stuff. And we customize our own cars. And I've got a few hot rods here. And so, we sell a lot of car parts and stuff that we take off the car that's stock and put on custom parts, and we'll sell it. And everything I put on there is pretty much sold. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'm going around finding stuff we don't need and trying to get rid of it. So that's what I've been doing in retirement, and just getting some projects done around here. It's been interesting. And, the great thing about being retired now is I'm not on anybody's schedule for the most part. There's no deadlines. I'm not waking up in the middle of the night for on call outs as I used to when I was a post detective. And it's kind of been nice. Everything's kind of just a little bit more laid back and relaxed, which, I was kind of looking forward to. And I try to help my wife while she's still working, and, she stays busy working. Sometimes she has to work from home. Sometimes she has to go in her office. So she's kind of in between that due to the pandemic and everything. But I have found my role is head grocery shopper for the most part. And yeah, I try to help out with the grocery shopping gimmick. But man, I'm telling you, grocery shopping's interesting, especially during the pandemic, right? So we saw a lot of people were hoarding things, and I go to the grocery store looking to be entertained by the seriousness of people and the ridiculousness of some of the things they do. The term Karens, the mad white females who are always screaming at everybody and being self-righteous and everything else. I see it all. I've been scolded in the grocery store for going the wrong way in the aisle because of the little stickers on the floor said one way, and I basically would laugh and tell them to call the cops and whatever. I mean, just the overreaction of people and the whole mask police, and you don't have your mask on. And I always wear one in the grocery store for the most part, but I like to walk around, take my time, and if I got a Coke Zero, I'll drink it, and I'll pull my mask off to take a drink, and I get people like just giving me the eye of death, like I'm spreading the plague, and I don't have COVID, people. I got tested, and I'm taking a drink out of my soda here. Can you fucking relax a little bit? God, man, people are really wound up about stuff, and they're fighting over stuff that's, short in supply on the shelves. And it's quite comical. It is quite comical. So I call it getting caught in a sea of Karens sometimes when I go grocery shopping. It's unbelievable, but interesting. So, that's kind of my retired life, man. I can't complain. I got no complaints about retirement whatsoever. I highly recommend it. So, looking forward to my first summer as a retiree. I'm going to try to get my golf game going again. We've got an RV. My wife and I got some camping trips planned with some of our best friends and our dog. We take Thunder with us camping, and looking forward to just kind of doing that and not having to rush back to go to work and things like that. So really looking forward to this summer, and we'll keep you updated on all that. Also, I started I have a couple of side businesses. I still do the forensic vehicle identification stuff that I specialized in law enforcement. I still do that. So I'm still involved heavily in stolen car business and in the forensic identification of vehicles. And then I started up a drone business called Great Lakes Drone Service. I was really not into flight and aviation, and the whole drone thing got me hooked when I was watching the drones be operated. We have in the state police here where I retired from, they have a division in the aviation division that specializes in drones, and so I had utilized their services and watched them train with drones, and kind of was pretty fascinated with the technology. I am kind of a techno geek. I like to have the newest technology, but I don't want to be the first one to run out and get the new iPhone. I kind of want to let the bugs get worked out of all the new stuff, and then I'll go buy it. So I saw the drone stuff, started researching it, and I ended up getting my FAA pilot's license for a commercial drone operation, and that's kind of a story in and of itself. I um, researched everything that I could take the test for $160 here locally, and I did that probably a year ago now. Found some research material, some study guides online that didn't cost anything. Watched 100 YouTube videos and some really good ones. Some people that have taken the test that put out videos. Studied for about 2 months. Went in and took the test and scored a 94% on the first try, and got my pilot's license for commercial drone flight. And so I went and bought a few drones and started a fleet, and started training myself, and did a few flights already for people, and flew over some property and did some photograph and video. The technology with the drones is unbelievable. I have one that does 8K hyperlapse video. I mean, it's just amazing. The thing about that my disadvantage is with my drones is I can capture the shots and know the ins and outs of flying and the aviation rules and everything. It's the post-production where you can really make your money. I mean, if you are a whiz at like Adobe Premiere Pro and you can do post-production, video production and editing, man, that's where the money is. I'm self-taught and everything like that, so I'm learning that stuff, but Adobe Pro blows my mind, man. I'm just not good at it. I still use Windows Movie Maker Pro, which, is good. It can get some good HD quality stuff put together, some videos, but you're limited on your cinematic effects and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you could probably see by the videos I put on YouTube here that they're pretty basic videos. And if you check out our video channel for the Great Lakes Drone Service, you'll see my production is, probably pretty elementary in comparison to some other people's, but we're getting there. And maybe if, my oldest son is really good with computers, advertising and stuff like that, and I know he's working on his degree. So hoping to get him up to go on that post-production with Adobe Premiere, and he can help me out with that kind of stuff in the future. So that's kind of what we've been doing. I've been busy in retirement, purging stuff and that kind of thing. Hope everybody's surviving the pandemic, as they hopefully we're coming out of the woods on this whole coronavirus and China virus, whatever you want to call it. And I have my feelings on this whole thing. I think I've shared that with you before. Disagree with me if you will, but I think it wasn't a mistake that virus made it to this country. I just believe that. I believe the former president was making economic headway, and I think China took offense to that. They don't want to be backseat to anybody, and I don't know the ins and outs of how it happened, but I don't think it was an accident. And also another thing, I believe there is a COVID virus. I'm not a conspiracy theory that this is not real. I believe it is. People have died, but I have watched some research from some pretty qualified medical people and scientists. One recently said he is with a foundation, I think California. They were doing some research and they asked the CDC for, 19 or 20 positive COVID samples that were tested positive by the CDC. And they wanted to do some research on those samples, some additional research. When they got those samples, they went through and retested everything. And all of the samples they were given were actually negative for the coronavirus. They all tested positive for influenza A and B. So is there the testing procedure is what I question, and I have personal experience with that. One of my sons, one of his friends had tested positive for coronavirus. He had been in vicinity of him in an outdoor capacity. So he wanted to go get tested to make sure. He went and tested the rapid test, and he tested positive. So he had to quarantine. Well, into the quarantine a few days, they did I guess it's the PCR, the more thorough test of his sample. It came back that he was negative. So the rapid test was a false positive. And he ended up being negative for the whole thing. And so I'm not saying that, the numbers are being intentionally fudged out there by the government, but I'm saying this testing process, there's some flaws in it. Maybe some of the people that have died, have died of other causes. A lot of coronavirus deaths are obese people, with immune systems that have been compromised by other things, and then you get pneumonia and you die. But I just don't know that the numbers are all COVID that they say they are, my opinion. Anyway, we got to survive this pandemic, the lockdown. The lockdown was tough on me because it wasn't so much on me because, I don't like crowds anyway. After 31 years of law enforcement, one of the things that's consistent with retirees is we don't like people for the most part. I limit my exposure to crowds and people I don't know and that kind of thing. And I just kind of stay in my inner circle, my family, my wife. And I just not a big bar person. I'll go to happy hour. My wife and I like to go hit a happy hour, have some drinks, grab something to eat, and then come home. That's kind of a big night for us. So I'm not but we do like to go out to eat. And in Michigan, we were so locked down with, couldn't do indoor dining, and the weather up here isn't conducive for outdoor dining, in certain months. So we were kind of stuck, eating at home, carrying out at home, and that kind of thing. So it's nice that, we're starting to get back to some limited indoor dining here in Michigan. I just wish the current governor would slow her roll a little bit. I think she's a little overbearing with her restrictions and that kind of thing. I think she's got other problems to worry about regarding the nursing homes and everything else that went wrong here in Michigan. The schools need to be back in school, in my opinion, and these kids need to be playing sports, especially the outdoor sports. And I don't believe in wearing a mask outdoors. I just don't. I don't believe in that. I believe your body needs oxygen and needs to get rid of carbon dioxide. And when you're outside, I don't think you're going to contract the coronavirus. I haven't seen any studies, scientific studies anywhere that says you're contracting coronavirus while you're riding a bike outdoors or playing golf. And, when this all started, she had lockdown fishing, golf. You couldn't do any of that here in Michigan. It was ridiculous. And I still believe that, playing basketball, wearing a mask. I don't know, test people. Test everybody, tests negative, you let them play. And the NCAA is doing it. Their players don't have to wear a mask. And what I find ridiculous, talk about March Madness because I love March Madness. So they're testing every day. Everybody in the tournament has to get tested before they can participate. And occasionally we've seen a couple positive tests. That team automatically loses, team advances because they had a positive test. If all the players have tested negative, and all the coaches have tested negative, and all the managers have tested negative, and everybody involved at courtside has tested negative, why do the coaches have to sit there and scream and yell at their players on the sideline with a mask on their face? And a lot of people have been vaccinated. So if you're vaccinated, you've tested negative, you still have to wear a mask in an open environment. You're not even in an enclosed area, shoulder to shoulder kind of thing. A lot of it just doesn't make common sense to me. I don't get it. Anyway, it's my opinion. It's my show. And if you don't like it, then you can disagree with me. But yeah, I have not been vaccinated because again, I don't like to be the one to run out and be the first to do anything. I just have always felt that way. I always tend to let the bugs get worked out of things, and then I'll assess it and go do what I have to do. The vaccination, I have not. I didn't fall in one of the categories that was like essential. Now that I'm retired, so um, I'll probably get the vaccination, but I'm going to give it some time. I don't want to be the first one to get it, and I want to kind of see how things play out here. Nobody in the family here has got it yet. We had some, obviously some scares, if you will, with the son getting a positive test and that kind. I went and got rapid tested, um, just because he, was in that quarantine thing and he had been in the house. So I wanted, and I tested negative with the rapid test. But man, getting those sticks up the nose was kind of uncomfortable. And I know some of these people are getting tested every day to, the athletes and stuff. Holy cow, that would be a real pain in the ass. But I did my test and it was negative. I actually did a antibodies test because I was getting some blood work done by my doctor for my annual physical, and they just threw the antibodies test in there and it showed that I hadn't had it. But after I had that test, I went through a period of really not feeling well, and I don't know what it was. I didn't have a lot of the COVID symptoms. I didn't have any cough. I didn't have a fever. I actually felt like I was having a heart attack. I usually try to walk Thunder, and I try to walk about 1.5 miles a day. I tried to, I wanted to lose some weight when I retired and try to get back into decent shape. So I can't throw the weights around that I used to throw around, and I've had some joint injuries and some arthritis. And so wanted to go easy. So I just said, let's just start walking a little bit. So I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I started out on our walk, and about 1/2 mile into it, I started getting real uncomfortable, tight chest, shortness of breath, and I had a little pain down my left arm, which, after being a first responder, I kind of knew that probably wasn't good. And so I finished the walk. Heart rate was a little elevated, more than usual. I kind of keep a heart rate thing on the smartwatch kind of thing. So I get home and just didn't feel good. So I kind of struggled with that for a couple days, not feeling good and just sluggish. I usually like to have a lot of energy and come outside and work around the yard and in the garage. I'm always doing something outside. Didn't have the motivation, the energy. So I ended up going in and seeing my doctor, who's a friend of ours. She's a close friend of ours, my wife and I's. And Dr. Kim Fryer, I'll give her props out here in Charlotte, Michigan. She's a great doctor. And went to her and told her what was up. And she felt that because of family history and stuff, that I should go get my heart checked. And so she immediately got me into a cardiologist in the area. And I went over and I did the whole stress test thing with Dr. Chu, another good cat. And that stress test is brutal, man. They didn't put me on the treadmill. They did the chemically induced stress test. And I didn't even know nothing about this. I thought, I was going to go over there and run on a treadmill. And so they did all the tests, and they inject you with whatever it is that they inject. I thought it was like adrenaline or whatever, but they hit me with an IV. And like almost immediately, the heart rate's up, the racing heart, and you get the shortness of breath going, and I could feel it. It was a rush. And then when they monitor you and look at all the, the echoes and all the monitors while your heart's up, I just tried to breathe it out and relax a little bit. But then they have an antidote that they pump in, and it counteracts that thing immediately, and it goes back to normal. Oh, we got somebody running hot here by the house. Sorry for the sirens if you could hear that. But so immediately it takes away and levels off your heart rate and everything, and you kind of go back to normal. So that all turned out that the heart was fine. They had no blockages. All the valves were working right. Everything was pumping like it's supposed to. So I don't know what it was, but that led into man, I don't know what we got here in the house, but we got a bug, and I don't know what it came from. I initially thought it was food poisoning, but I don't think it was. I was throwing my local chicken restaurant drive through under the bus for a while. I don't think it was that. I ate. It started after I ate there, but probably 3 or 4 hours after I ate some drive-through at the local chicken place, and I'm not going to throw them under the bus because I don't think it was them. I started feeling a little nauseous, and I'm not one to get sick to my stomach. I just am not. I normally have an iron gut for the most part. Even when I drank heavily, I was not one to hit the toilet. I just wasn't. Even doing nights of doing shots and everything. My wife probably can count on one hand the times that she's seen me sick, and most of the time it's been from like flu or something like that. Well, this hit me so hard, whatever bug it was. Violent sick to my stomach throughout the night. Basically slept on the floor in the bathroom. It was bad. And it got to the point where there was nothing left in my system, and it was like a dry heave for hours, and I wouldn't stop. Every 20 minutes, it was just brutal, man. My insides were tore up. Came out the other end in the morning. Finally, it stopped the next day. Was living on Gatorade and dry toast for the most part, just trying to get my system back. I was so tapped out. My wife was just sterilizing the house from stem to stern, not knowing what was causing this. And I started to pull out of it and try. It was really weak, though. It felt like someone actually beat the living piss out of me for 2 days. My ab muscles from contraction so hard, and my throat was raw, and my esophagus was raw. It was just brutal. So it took me a couple of days to pull out of it, started getting my energy back, and now I'm back to 100%. Got the dog back out. We did our 1.5 miles this morning. It felt really good, but I don't know what it was. My son, the youngest son, Dylan, got a version of it, but he's really in good shape. He goes to the gym every day, and he meal preps and takes his supplements, and he got it, but he was in the bathroom for a couple events, and he was over it. And then we're like, all right, now it's something that's contagious. Even after we scrubbed the house down, what the hell? We didn't eat the same food. So I knew it probably wasn't food poisoning. Probably a week goes by, maybe a week and a half. My oldest son, Hunter, never got it, and he ended up going back to his place at school, and he never got it at all. And then my wife got it. She got it. She was the last to get it. And it hit her hard like it hit me, and wiped her out for 2 days. And so now we're thinking, what in the Sam hell is this? Because there's no way this virus could be laying around on the countertop for a week and a half. It has to be something. So now I'm thinking, is our water source in the house contaminated? We got E. coli. We have a well. And, we don't drink tap water for the most part, but we're showering in it. We have a filtration system through the refrigerator that we drink out of. That's our drinking water, or we drink the bottled water, right? So I don't know what it was, but maybe our water's contaminated. I got to take some steps to get the well water tested. We quit drinking stuff out of the tap for now. And I remember our house next door, our neighbors just recently bought this house. It sold, changed hands about 4 or 5 months ago. And the previous owners said that a home inspection showed they had E. coli in their well. So I'm wondering if something's down in there that, is in our well as well. So we're going to do I think we can put some bleach down the wellhead and sanitize the well. And then I'll clean out the water softener and get the water tested. So I don't know. It's bad. Whatever it was hit us hard, but we're all over it. We're back to 100% here in the house, and we're gonna move forward here and try to stay healthy and try not to get the COVID. I don't want that. I'm old enough where it probably would hit me if I didn't have it already. I don't want it, so I try to stay away from people for the most part. But we'll wait on the vaccination until I feel comfortable with that whole thing. I'm not gonna rush out and get it yet. What else want to talk about? March Madness, man. This is one of my favorite times of the year. March Madness. Everybody fills out their brackets and that kind of thing. As a former basketball coach, I used to coach junior high basketball, and really watch the game still as kind of a coach and strategically, that kind of thing. I love watching March Madness. So who's my prediction? I love, being a University of Michigan. I got to represent, obviously, my Wolverines. You can see that. Big Michigan fan. Sparty, I know you guys don't like that. In Ohio State, you guys can suck it. So you got beat in the tournament by Oral Roberts University. So there you go, Ohio State. You ain't got nothing to say there. Sparty got knocked out, I think, too, by they came in like a 15 seed and got knocked off by a nobody. Well, I know UCLA is somebody. I won't say nobody. UCLA beat Michigan State, which surprised me because Izzo usually gets his guys playing this time of year. Not to be this year. Purdue gets knocked out. Ohio State, Purdue, Michigan State. Who else got knocked out? Another big Ohio State team or a Big Ten team. I think Michigan's left. Illinois looks good. Illinois is one of my picks for the Final Four, believe it or not. I don't know that my Wolverines are going to make it that far. I'm just saying how it is. I'm not one of those people that just because I love the Wolverines are going to say they're going to win it all, because they're not. Illinois is good. I like Illinois. Gonzaga's good. You're going to see them there. Their bracket's kind of weak too. I like Oklahoma State for some reason. We're going to see how far they go. I might pick Oklahoma State to be in the Final Four. So those are some of the teams I'm watching to get to the Final Four. So we're watching that. One of the things about March Madness that I love is I used to go to, growing up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, my parents were big, just my brother and I were sport. We played every sport there was, 4 sports in high school. Up there, you could play 4. Football, then you go to basketball season, right out, 2 days after football is over, you're playing basketball. Track in the spring. We couldn't play baseball in the spring because of the snow up there. So they moved baseball to the summer. We play high school baseball in the summer months. So you got to play 4 sports. We're just jocks, man. So when the state finals would come around when we were young, they always played the state finals in basketball at University of Michigan, Chrysler Arena. So my parents and all their friends and their kids would travel down. We'd get a hotel with a big swimming pool there at the Ann Arbor Hilton, and we'd spend the weekend watching the finals. We'd go to all the games, the semifinals and the finals. My parents would party in the hotel with their friends that night. We'd raise hell in the swimming pool. And, man, I remember watching some really famous people play here in Michigan in the 70s and the 80s. I watched Magic Johnson play high school in the state finals when he played for Lansing Everett. Just dominant on the basketball court. Nobody could stop that cat. Jay Vincent, Greg Kelser. I watched Roy Marble, Flint Beecher, Flint Northwestern, Glenn Rice. Detroit Southwestern had Antoine Jobert. Perry Watson was the coach. They were there all the time, every year. Man, I watched some really great basketball players. I loved watching the finals, and I carried that over when I got on my own. I lived down in the Ann Arbor area, so man, it was great. I could just slide over on a day off or whatever and watch the state finals. I would just go in and just eat popcorn and watch the basketball. And then they brought them up to Michigan State at the Breslin Center, and we had moved up to the Lansing area. So now I'm still taking my kids over to the Breslin Center. Just a great environment, man, to watch high school state finals basketball. It was great. Just great atmosphere. I love to be there. And then the pandemic hit, and we never got to do it last year. And so I'm looking forward to hoping they probably won't have in Michigan. We're locked down probably with sports, so probably not going to have anybody in the stands for basketball state finals again. I don't know. I haven't heard, so probably not. But just love watching that. Great time of the year. In football, it's the same thing. And I used to go down to the Pontiac Silverdome here in Michigan and watch the state finals. And what a blast. And I got to finally make it to the state finals as a player in 1983. I was a junior in high school. Our team was the perennial underdog from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Went to the state final championship game, Class D, and shocked the world, knocked off the perennial powerhouse Mendon, who had, been there years before several times. And we won 15-12, won the state championship in 1983. And I still have contacts with former teammates to this day who we all talk about that journey. And it's something we'll never forget, man. It was a life-changing experience, and I give all the credit in the world to Coach Barry Pearson, legendary Hall of Fame football coach who played under Bo Schembechler, was a star on the 1969 University of Michigan team against Ohio State, went on and played a little bit in the NFL, and I'm telling you what, his football practices were not fun. They were not fun, and at the time, you thought it sucked, but his discipline and the way that he instilled, discipline in your life, and it paid dividends down the road in life for a lot of us. And I want to get Coach Pearson on this podcast and interview him because he's a one-of-a-kind gem. Old school football coach. Obviously I don't think Coach would do too well in today's snowflake society. I just don't. As masterful as he is, I don't think it would be a good fit at all, but I want to get him on this podcast and talk to him about our run. You can see the state championship game. I have it uploaded to my personal YouTube page, and you can find that on YouTube under McPhee Enterprise Incorporated. And 1983 championship game, I uploaded it from a VHS tape, and you'll be able to see that quality, but it's on YouTube. And you can find the same channel. You can find the following year, we were favored to go back to the Silver Dome because we're even, I believe, a better team. And we got beat in a mud bowl in Gladstone, Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula by Iron Mountain, and just a mud fest. It was just brutal playing conditions. You can see that game as well on my personal YouTube channel. So check it out. Anyway, I started a Facebook page of all the former teammates of those teams. And I've been touching base with a lot of my old teammates and friends that I haven't talked to in years. And I'm going to reconnect with them, and we're going to do some interviews about the old days of St. Ignace Saint football. So look out for those. It's coming at you. Also, I want to talk about fantasy baseball, man. I'm a big baseball fan. I didn't have the time, working to sit down and watch a whole baseball game. Of course, Detroit Tigers is a hometown team. They haven't been good in a long time. You miss Jim Leland. I used to love watching Jim Leland manage, old school, go smoke a cigarette in the tunnel and come out and yell at the umps. And I love guys like that. Sparky Anderson was a great manager. I love Spark. The Tigers got to get their shit together here. But I never got to watch whole games lately, but I'm into baseball. I was a catcher, so I love watching catchers and how they do things. And so I got time. I got into a fantasy baseball league with I'm a big I don't know if you guys know it or not. I grew up a big professional wrestling fan. The WWF back in the day. I loved watching Saturday Night Main Events in the 80s as a kid. And then I got cable when I was growing up, when I got out on my own, and I was watching the Attitude Era. Loved the Attitude Era wrestling. And so I've always followed professional wrestling. Today's product sucks, man. I can't watch it. It's too childlike, rated G shit. I can't watch it. It's brutal. I'll surf it and kind of check it out and kind of stay on top of like who the champions are and stuff, but it's just brutal to watch, man. But I'll go back and I'll watch the old stuff, and I love it. But Vince Russo is one of the writers from the Attitude Era, and I started following him back when he was a writer for WCW, and he came out. He was an on-air talent. He's a New York guy, and I've read his books and everything, and everybody hated Vince. And the more I follow the guy and listen to him talk, and he has a podcast, and I just love listening to the guy because he's much like myself. Him and I have a lot in common other than, we just kind of give our opinion on things, and most people don't like it, and they shit on you. And he just claps back at him, and so I follow him. Well, he is really into baseball. Well, he started a fantasy baseball league, and I joined it, and you can win some pretty good money on that. So I really got to do my homework on this fantasy baseball stuff, man. He's really into it, and a lot of his fans are as well. So I got to, we already did the draft. Of course, I missed the son of a bitch. I had it on my calendar. I was going to go in and do the manual draft, and I had done the research on the players I wanted. It was at 9:00 on a Sunday night, and I must have fell asleep upstairs watching television or something. Completely slept through the draft. So they did an auto draft, and I ended up with what I got. But I have a few good players. We'll see if we can trade up and grab some players off the waiver wire. But there's a lot to it, man. People take that stuff serious because there's money involved. So I got some work to do, and I got to try to beat Vince at his own game here because he's really good at it. So I'm going to try to beat him. Anyway. Fantasy football, I've played that, over the years, and I'm more comfortable with the football aspect of things than I am baseball. So I'm kind of new to the baseball thing. So I got some work to do. Anyway, what else? We want to talk about a couple other things before I let you go here. I'm going to do some interviews too this summer. I'm just waiting for the weather to break here in mid-Michigan. It's just kind of starting to warm up here, and things are starting to green up a little bit. It's still below freezing at night, but it's getting up in the high 40s and 50s. And the other day it was 60 some. So looking forward to some good weather and getting out of the house and traveling around and going up north. I still go up checking my parents and help them out as much as possible. So I got an interview I want to do. You guys can check out episode 8 of the Chiefs C4 podcast on my YouTube channel. It was with Sean Ravey, childhood friend. We grew up together. He is now in law enforcement out in Arizona for a large metropolitan police department. Sean has just watch the video. His journey to being a police officer is just unbelievable. He got into business at like 38 years old, and watch that video. I'll link it down below here. You got to check it out. Anyway, Sean started a foundation for abused children out there, and it's called Put on the Cape, and it revolves around superheroes and real life superheroes, cosplay people, and they interact with the child advocacy centers, and they buy action figures for superheroes for the kids and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a great foundation that Sean's got going. He raises a lot of money for these centers, and recently he's been starting to raise money by putting on car shows. And I'm a big car show guy. I grew up in the car show world with my dad, and Sean's dad, Ed Ravey, is the founding father of the St. Ignace car show in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan back in the early mid 70s. He started that with my father. Kind of, they had 5, 6, 7 guys that had hot rods and antique cars, and they started their own car show, and it grew into this mammoth event the last weekend of June every summer. I remember it just got so big in the late 80s and early 90s. The cops had to bring in platoons of additional law enforcement assistance to keep a rein on things because of the drinking and the burnouts and just craziness. It was a spectacle to watch. I've been to every one of them except a few in the later years here, but they reeled it back in and turned it into just a great event to go to. And it was a car show known around the Midwest, man. We had people coming from miles around, and legendary guests from the automotive world that Ed Ravey would bring in that would come here, and it was awesome. And in recent years, I mean, even the big corporate sponsors, GM, Chrysler, Ford, the exhibitions, they would bring semi-trailers and set up their exhibits. It was just great. Well, that has gone away. Ed retired a few years back, and I don't know, within the last 5 years, the car show, in my opinion, is gone in the shitter. And I think it's being run by people that don't know anything about cars and car shows, and it was turned over to the city, and there's politics involved, and I'm just not a big fan of the thing anymore. It's not like it once was. And then now it's COVID. You don't want to have a car show outdoors because of COVID, and come on, really. Sean and I talked about doing a charity event car show here in Michigan for his foundation, and so we're gonna talk about that in the coming months. And my thought was maybe we need to put a car show back on up north and bring the old school Sittingness car show back the way it was, instead of getting politics involved and everything else. Let's just go back old school and do it right. And we have some pretty good mentors that can help us do that. My father and Bucky McPhee and Sean and Ed. So I want to interview Ed and my dad, who are childhood hot rod friends. Legendary stories about growing up and racing their cars against each other. And this summer, I want to get those two together and do that interview. I think it'd be great. And then what advice they can give us to carry on the car show legacy would be awesome. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I wanted to mention something too, man. I saw something the other day I thought was great. I teach at 10 different college and universities around the state of Michigan still. I'm an adjunct professor. I mentioned earlier about teaching some criminal investigative stuff at police academies and that kind of thing. I went to a police academy to teach a local community college this week. And I've been teaching the same course for 23 years now. And I'm up over 10,000 recruits and police officers that I've taught to. And I always am fascinated with the police academies on why people are getting into the business. And a lot of times it's, it's a legacy thing. They're following their bloodlines in the business, or military people tend to attract to law enforcement. And then you'll get these people that have grew up in a rough time, and they want to go back and make a difference in their neighborhood, in their hometown, in their communities, which is awesome, I think. So I'm always kind of polling who's in the class, and I always try to find who the oldest recruit is in the class and who the youngest recruit is. And I think for the 23 years I've been teaching, the oldest recruit I ever had was 48 years old. Unbelievable. 48 years old, hanging with young guys and gals in these academies, and decided that they want to do this for a living. Well, this week when I taught, the oldest recruit record was surpassed. And this young man, and I say young because he's younger than me by a few. This guy is going through the police academy at 51 years of age. And look, 51, he's going back to work the mean streets of Benton Harbor, Michigan. And I'm telling you what, they are mean streets. It's a rough neighborhood down there. I've been there. I've worked down there. And God bless this recruit for doing this, man. I wanted to know what his story was. And I'd love to interview this guy. I might reach out to him and see if he'd do an interview with me. But he said he worked in a private sector for a private company for 18 years. And he was kind of the right-hand man of the owner of the company. He was always there to do anything for the company. And he just said he felt like it got to the point where they were taking him for granted, and he was underappreciated and undervalued for the service and the time that he's put in at the company. And he felt like he needed to walk, and he did. He walked off the job, and for some reason, he said his childhood goal or his childhood dream was to be a police officer. And there's no age restriction, man. He did it. He put in for it. He got accepted, and they are halfway through the police academy. The last when I was there, 8 out of 16 weeks, and he's hanging with all the young bucks in that class, and they're all 20, 21, 22, 23-year-olds, and he's hanging with them. And God bless him, man. I'm gonna watch this cat. I'm gonna follow his career and see if I can get him on a podcast. I think it's great. And to get in law enforcement at 51 years old in today's society, God bless you, man. God bless you. So, yeah, let's give a shout out to Recruit Henderson. I'll be watching, brother, and good luck to you. So that's about it, folks. That's what's going on with me. And I just want to reach out to everybody, say we're not dead. We're still here. And hopefully we'll start putting out some more episodes with some cool interviews instead of me just rambling about different stuff. But yeah, that's it. And reach out to us on our channel. Follow us on our YouTube channel. We need some subscribers, and we want to build that base. Share it. We're going to post this. We got a Facebook page, Chief C4 Podcast. We got a Twitter page. If you want to follow us at the Chiefs C4 Podcast there. I believe we are on Instagram. Maybe we're on, not yet. Maybe not on Instagram yet, but I know we're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We have a website, Chiefs C4 Podcast, and get after us on YouTube. So until then, and until we meet again, I want to thank you for everybody for following us, and throw your comments down below. And if I pissed you off, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. That's my opinion here. And if you want to bring a counter argument, send me a message and we'll talk about it. So, all right, folks, take care. Everybody, stay healthy. We're getting into the good months of summer here, and get outside and enjoy life a little bit. And we'll keep you updated as to what we're doing. So long, everybody. Take care.